guys, Mrs. T here. Welcome to the art room, which just so happens to be my studio that's located in the basement of my house. So don't mind the organized chaos. That's kind of what it is. I know where everything is most of the time. So today we are going to be learning about Henri Matisse. Hopefully you've already watched the video that kind of introduces you to his cutouts, which is what we're going to be doing today. So Matisse, during this phase of his work, was primarily confined to the indoors. He wasn't very healthy. For some of this time period, he was actually wheelchair bound. So he didn't want to stop creating. Most artists don't. So he came up with a way to continue to work utilizing the tools, his hands, that he could still use while he was unhealthy. And so he began this cutout phase. This here on our nifty little easel is the project that we are going to be completing. It is made up of both organic and geometric shapes. So let's just recap the difference between the two. Organic, and this is an example of organic, so there's no rhyme or reason, there's no easy identified shape that is created. In most cases, organic shapes are created with the influence of from nature. And that is where Matisse was influenced most during this time phase, or during this phase. He was thinking about nature in a lot of his cutouts. Geometric shapes are what we're used to seeing. Circles, triangles, rectangles. And so this piece that I created here as an example combines both organic and geometric shapes. You'll see I have some geometric triangles. This one here is truly an organic shape. However, you can identify like some of the simple designs of it where you can kind of envision a bunch of triangles connected together to make this organic overall shape. So you have the opportunity to mix both organic and geometric, or you can stick to all organic or stick to all geometric. I do find personally the composition to be a little bit more interesting when you combine both organic and geometric. So have some fun with it. You'll also note that mine is on a white piece of paper or white background, but then I do have a black border around it. That's just something I opted to do, not something you have to do. I just did it for a couple reasons, but one of the main ones was so that it would stand up in the easel ever so nicely. I do have a couple other examples here. I have this black, white, and gray themed one. Again, the combination of a large organic shape with some added geometric shapes around. And then I have this guy here, which is all organic shapes. One thing to know is that you can cut your paper down to different sizes. It doesn't have to stay standard like this one. You're welcome to have different, sizes throughout completing this project. So I have a couple here that I've been working on, just kind of getting my creative juices going. So let's talk about our materials before we go any further. So to complete this project, one, you have to first start by watching the video so that you have an introduction to the concept that the artist created with these cutouts. I love the video. It's a very informative video. It's about 4.5 minutes long, but you get a real good insight to this series of work by Matisse. We need, preferably, a white piece of paper. One of the things with these cutouts is Matisse really thought about not only shape, but he also thought about color, the vibrancy of color. And with most of his pieces, they are done with a white background so that the colors can pop. After doing this project, I did notice, I don't have the example here, but I did one where the background was black. And the colors do pop really well with that too. So my recommendation, a plain black or plain white background is ideal. So you'll need your background or where you're going to place your cutouts, whether it's black or white or any color for that matter. You can you need to have some construction paper of various colors. You can, do this project in color schemes. So thinking about, you could do it in primary colors, you could do it in secondary colors, you could do all tertiary colors, you could do analogous colors. Analogous colors are 3 colors that are side by side on the color wheel. I have a small color wheel here, analogous colors are colors that are side by side on the color wheel. You could do complementary colors. Remember, colors that are directly across each other on the color wheel. So think back to your color wheel. Having access to the internet, if you don't recall your color wheel, pull a color wheel up on your screen. Works out really well. So if you have some scrap paper laying around, I'm kind of a hoarder. A lot of artists are. We tend to hold on to our scraps. They do come in handy, I promise. So you can use your scraps as you're completing this project, because you can use them for like little details around your larger pieces. So make sure you're not throwing things away or recycling things right away. Hold on to those, see what you can use and create. A ruler is optional. A pencil with eraser could come in handy. Not required. You could actually do this entire project with no pencil whatsoever. However, some people do like to draw their shapes and then cut them out by following the lines. For our younger friends, this might be a good idea, especially if you don't have safety scissors at home. Draw your shapes and have an adult or an older sibling cut those shapes out for you. Cutting tools. We need scissors. Like I said, if you don't have safety scissors, please, please, please have someone help you cut, or have someone present to supervise while you're making your cuts. And a glue stick. A glue stick is going to work best for this project. However, your traditional white Elmer's glue will work. It takes a little bit longer to dry, and you need to make sure that it doesn't clump up, that you have it like spread out along your shape so that you don't have bubbles under the paper. But a glue stick will work best, so if you have that available, that's what you want to use. I work on this little mat here. I can make my cuts. I can, put my glue on this work mat. If you don't have a mat, you can always put down some cardboard. You could put down a larger piece of paper or just a scrap piece of paper, so that way you don't get glue anywhere on your workspace. Let's get started. We want to start by making our shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab a fresh piece of paper. I think I'm going to stick with some warm colors in this one. So as a reminder, let's see, our warm colors. When we think about our color wheel, maybe you've already said what your warm colors are. So your warm colors, think hot. So you've got your red, your orange, your yellow, and everywhere in between there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a warm colored piece using these colors. You're going to need your cutting tool. You can draw your shapes if you want to and then cut them out. But what I don't want you to do is overthink your shapes. Just have some fun with your shapes. Don't overthink them. Keep it light, fun, semi-quick. I mean, of course, you're using scissors, so you don't want to do anything too quick. Oh, I think that kind of looks like a tool. That's kind of interesting. So I've got that. Ooh, the paper in between my two shapes here almost looks really, it actually does look really interesting. So I'm just going to kind of cut that out. It almost looks like a statue in a way. Again, still usable paper, so I'm not going to go very far with that. And now I'm going to get myself some more. It's about all I'm going to use of this. But I'm going to do just some fun. I don't know. I might use this as I'm working along. The next step, after you have your shapes, and there's, again, no rhyme or reason, there's no wrong or right, I'm going to start laying these down just so I get an understanding of how things are fitting. Something to keep in mind, as you were watching that video, you may or may not have noticed that although Matisse combines his types of shapes, one of the things he does not do is he does not overlap his shapes, meaning his shapes don't touch. So you want to keep that kind of consistency happening. Now, I do always tell you that you have creative freedom when you are making your work. So if you decide you want to overlap, I'm not going to stop you. You are welcome to create your own. Always want to remember that as we learn about these artists, they are simply our inspiration, but we have to make it our own. So you are welcome to change, add, overlap, if that's what you really want to do. I like the idea of keeping them separate. To me, I look at it as a challenge. I think I might add in some little red triangles and maybe some little yellow triangles as well. I'm kind of loving triangles right now, apparently. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's nothing. But I seem to be using a lot of triangles. So I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit because now we have to glue them all down. All right, and maybe one yellow somewhere. I don't want to leave the yellow out. All right, now I'm happy, so I'm going to start to glue things down. You can leave it laid out and just pick up one piece at a time. Have your like kind of glue station off to the side if you want to. I don't ever recommend laying the piece that's being glued down on top of your project page. That's kind of a recipe for disaster because you can end up getting glue, all over your project, and you don't need that excess glue anywhere. So now I just can't remember. There it is. Okay. Pitfall that I just determined a little bit ago is that my yellow is a thin, this paper isn't very thick, and because this is that glue stick that goes down purple, you can see where my glue stick is, or where the glue is. So just kind of be aware of that. It doesn't really bother me much, but if it bothers you, you want to be aware of your glue and how thick your paper is. So, you're just working to get them all glued down. Trying to go fast, sorry guys. And then, there we go. We're going to go that way. Last one. And I mean, of course, as you're gluing it down, if you decide to make a change, maybe you decide to cut some more pieces, because now that it's, kind of down, you've decided, oh, I think I want some more in there, or whatever. Or maybe you take some pieces away. Whatever you decide. Either way, once you get it all glued down, it's done. And you can decide which way. Maybe after you've designed it, you like it a very particular way versus the way that you glued it, the way you were looking at it. And now, if you wanted to mount it on a background, you can always do that. Black is always a nice color to do a frame with. However, something to consider is if you are using the full size piece of paper, you know, the first piece of paper that you lay everything down on, if you leave it standard, the background paper will be the exact same size. So if you have paper that is twice as big, so what is this? This is 16 by 9 or 8 by 16, something like that. You can then cut your mat out. Another interesting way to mat is if you have two pieces of paper that are the exact same size, you can just overlay them and offset them. And so you get this, here I'm going to come a little bit closer. But you can get this kind of interesting mounting in the background. And that, I mean, it's different. It looks kind of cool, looks different. So here is your finished Henry Matisse inspired cutout picture. Have fun, don't stress. Make sure that you have adult supervision when using scissors and or adult permission. And we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.